Oscar Piastri was in front in FP1. Norris in second. Oscar Piastri was in front in FP2 as well. Did you guess it? Norris was once again right behind him. And in the first session, Sainz was third. And in the second, Gasly, who now has a new teammate, the Argentine Franco Colapinto, who finished P3. And speaking of Alpine drivers, Flavio Briatore came out publicly to contradict the team's own press release, saying Colapinto doesn't have just 5 races. To prove himself, Rafa Kamara takes pole position in Formula 3 at Imola, his 3rd in a row, and therefore starts at the front in the feature race. Friday, May 16th, 2025, there are already cars on track. The Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix weekend has already begun. Oh, ADM, it's Emilia-Romagna. So, sit down so we can talk about everything. Austin. Piastri topped the timesheets in the first session at Imola with his teammate Lando Norris in second, and a surprising, though maybe not so surprising at this point, Williams with Carlos Sainz in third. It was 1:30 p.m. local time, 8:30 a.m. here in our Brasilia time zone. Scorching sun, very hot, and a name back on the grid, the Argentine Franco Colapinto, who takes over the second Alpine in place of the Australian Jack Doohan after 6 races and 2 sprints, in which, according to the team, he did not perform satisfactorily. Actually, that's only half true. The way I said it didn't come out right. It's only half true because part of Alpine actually wanted Doohan to stay on, at least until the August break. But you know how it is, right? Flavio Briatore made a decision, and when he decides, that's it. While the Argentine was heading out on track with C5 tires, the medium compound for this weekend, most of the others were already using the soft compound, the one with the red stripe, which this weekend corresponds to the C6. This is a new compound making its debut this season, the softest in the range, which goes from C1 to C6. Among those running on softs was Charles Leclerc with Ferrari. Back in the Formula 1 paddock, he was absent from media duties yesterday due to feeling unwell. And it was Leclerc who got in Fernando Alonso's way while he was on a flying lap in a session that saw other incidents of the same kind. Meanwhile, Norris was at the top with the fastest time so far, 1:17.125. As the track kept evolving, I've already explained this here, but it works more or less like this. The cars leave rubber on the asphalt, and the grooves in the track get filled in by that rubber. Rubber on rubber grips better. The lap times started to drop because then everyone can brake later, carry more speed into the corners, and get better traction on the way out. In short, a track with more rubber is always better. That's in dry conditions. In the wet, it's a different story. As the track kept evolving, George Russell with Mercedes went out and took the lead, 1:16.599. Russell's number 63 Mercedes was leading the timesheets with Sainz in second and another driver racing at home, besides the Ferrari, and Racing Bull's drivers whose factories are nearby. Kimi Antonelli, who was born in Bologna, just 20 minutes from Imola. Antonelli, by the way, brought his school friends to the paddock. Then the broadcast director cut to an onboard camera from the Ferrari, showing Leclerc holding the steering wheel with one hand and with the other holding his helmet. He obviously went back to the garage to secure the safety device more firmly. In the other Ferrari, Hamilton was complaining about difficulty stopping the car under heavy braking. As the session went on, and everyone had already tried out their soft tires, it was a 1-2 for McLaren with Piastri in first, Norris in second, and George Russell up to that point in third. Albon ran wide, Verstappen was seen sliding, but the real drama was reserved for the Brazilian Gabriel Bortoleto, who, coming out of Rivazza, had the rear step out, corrected it, then went off track and hit the barriers head on. It wasn't a very hard hit, but it was enough to bring out a red flag. And since we were in the final 2 minutes, the session ended and was not resumed, as there wouldn't have been enough time anyway. The clock doesn't stop. So it ended with Piastri in first, 1:16.545, followed by Norris and Carlos Sainz, who moved up with Williams. Russell was fourth. Lewis Hamilton was fifth, his first session on soft score on Ferrari's home turf. Followed by Gasly, Verstappen, Albon, and Bortoleto in ninth place, with Hülkenberg in the other green Sauber rounding out the top 10. Stroll was 11th, Leclerc 12th, Kimi Antonelli 13th, Alonso 14th, Liam Lawson 15th, Tsunoda 17th, and in between them, the Alpine of the Argentine, Colapinto. 18th was Oliver Bearman, 19th Isaac Hadjar, and 20th Esteban Ocon. It's impressive how this Haas car fluctuates in performance, sometimes managing to score points with both cars, and other times ending up at the back of the pack. Between the two sessions, Flavio Briatore spoke to the microphones. And I'd like to mention Oliver Oakes, whom many people thought was on the run. Well, maybe he is, but he showed up in Dubai. He was in the paddock. I'm bringing up Oliver Oakes because he was removed from the leadership of Alpine, and now officially and in practice, Briatore has taken over. But anyway, Briatore came out publicly to say that there is no limit to the number of races Colapinto will have to prove himself. This contradicts the terms of Alpine's own press release, which, when Doohan was replaced by Colapinto, stated this official document sent to the press even included a quote from Briatore himself, saying that Colapinto would have 5 races. And he said, it's not 3, not 5, not X number of races. It could be unlimited as long as he does the 3 things I asked of him. Be fast, don't crash, and score points. There is clearly a disagreement here between the team Potom and Briatore, but we know that the opinion that will prevail is his because he hasn't carte blanche from the CEO of the Renault Group, Luca De Meo. He's been shaking up the team's structure. Several people have already left, and anyone who gets in his way will be out. In the second session, once again, Piastri was first with Lando Norris in second. If Norris wants to fight for this championship, he'd better wake up and fast with Gasly as his new teammate, already wanting to show who's boss, securing P3. It was 5 in the afternoon local time, noon, here in Brasilia, not here in Brasilia, over there in Brasilia, but in our Brasilia time zone. On medium tires, Norris went out and topped the timesheets with a 1:16.074 right at the start, at that moment putting half a second over Piastri. Traffic was once again an issue, with Alonso having a very close encounter with Colapinto on the track, who, the Argentine, had already been scolded by Tsunoda in the first session. After 10 minutes of the session, Carlos Sainz, who had been third in the first part, was the first to go below the 16 mark, dipping into the 15s with Albon right behind him. Look at the Williams there. But then Norris came through, beating them both and setting a 1:15.952 for McLaren to take the lead. When George Russell put on the soft C6 Pirellis and went out on track, that's when the time really dropped down to 1:15.693. There were 20 minutes left in the session. Do you think there wasn't a red flag? Isaac Hadjar. But before that, most of the grid was on the red tires, chasing fast laps at a time that matches qualifying and the race on Saturday and Sunday. So these practice runs are more valuable because the track and atmospheric conditions are more similar, assuming it doesn't rain, to what they should expect in qualifying and the race. Verstappen went out and put his Red Bull in second place, just 0.042 off the benchmark set by Russell, complaining a lot about the car bottling, that is, the floor hitting the asphalt, especially in turn 11 with the other Red Bull, driven by Yuki Tsunoda, briefly taking third position. But the celebration for Russell and Verstappen didn't last long because Norris went out on soft tires and clocked 1:15.318, taking first place. Shortly after, Oscar Piastri made his statement by setting a 1:15.293 and putting his number 81 McLaren in the lead. Norris even tried. He was on a fast lap and might have taken Piastri off the top spot, but a snap of oversteer, in other words, the rear end stepped out and ruined his lap in the same spot where Bortoleto got caught in the first session. So it happens to the best of them. After Norris and Piastri restored order, most of the drivers switched to what are called race runs, which aren't 20 or 30 laps. There isn't enough time for that, but rather stints of 7, 8, at most 9 consecutive laps to get a feel for tire degradation and how the car behaves in race conditions with a heavier fuel load. It was at this point that Isaac Hadjar went off the track at the Tamburello chicane, going through the gravel and lightly hitting the barriers. He managed to maneuver the car out of there, but the red flag was shown just long enough for him to get out of the danger zone. The session resumed, but there were only 2 minutes left. So things stayed as they were. Piastri in first, Norris in second, Pierre Gasly with Alpine in third, followed by Russell, Max Verstappen, and Leclerc. Both Ferraris, Leclerc and Hamilton, were complaining a lot about the brakes. Hamilton, in this case, was 11th in the second session. Hadjar was 7th, Yuki Tsunoda 8th, Alexander Albon 9th, and Carlos Sainz 10th. All drivers trained by Red Bull there. 11th, as I mentioned, Lewis Hamilton. 12th, Oliver Bearman. 13th, Franco Colapinto. 14th, Fernando Alonso. 15th, Liam Lawson. 16th, Bortoleto. 17th, Lance Stroll. 18th, Kimi Antonelli. 19th, Hülkenberg. And 20th, Esteban Ocon. It's worth noting that for 2 sessions in a row, Bortoleto finished ahead of Hülkenberg, but we know that it's only tomorrow that things start to really count. Tomorrow there will be cars on track at times similar to today, but either an hour earlier or an hour later, depending on your perspective. Third practice at 7:30 in the morning, qualifying at 11. As soon as qualifying is over, I'll record a quick video for you, posting it here as soon as possible so we can discuss the qualifying results and the outlook for the race, which takes place on Sunday at 10 in the morning with me, Matthias Ornelas, and Houston here, joining us in our alternative second screen broadcast project, Another Channel, Another Way, for you to watch Formula One with different commentary and narration. Join us. It's a date. Tune in to Band or F1 TV. Now turn down the volume and listen to us. People have been enjoying it, giving us a lot of praise. It's a way to bring information, listen to the team radios, follow race control, chat with you, answer your questions, and your super chats that we put on the screen, all in a relaxed but very informative format. We covered the last 6 races of last year. We've already done the first 6 of this year, and we're moving forward. This week, I don't know if you know, but we've had a lot going on here. On Saturday, Teams We Love told the story of Sauber. 51 minutes of video, because here we don't hold back, telling the story from 1970, when Peter Sauber built his first prototype, all the way to now, 2025, when the team will become Audi. On Tuesday, we continued our gadget saga with part 3, another 10 crazy projects from Formula One history. On Wednesday, taking advantage of the fact that it's the month of the Indianapolis 500, we shared a story that even made it into my book. By the way, did you know I released a book last year? If you didn't know and want to buy it, I'll leave the link to Gulliver Publishing down below in the description. I'll talk more about Gulliver Publishing and our other partners in a bit. It's the story of when 𝘾𝙤𝙥𝙮𝙧 won the 1987 Indianapolis 500 driving a car that had been retired, turned into a show car, the kind you see at gas stations, and was sitting in a hotel lobby. The car was brought back to life and won the 500 miles. You can watch all of this while you wait for the race. By the way, on Sunday, you know, right? The broadcast ends after the checkered flag, and I'll meet you again. Yeah, at 6 o'clock in our post-race live stream to answer your questions, your super chats, talk about everything that happened on and off the track, news, and so on. And in the last live stream of every month, we raffle off 3 books from Gulliver Publishing for everyone here. I said I'd mention them. 3 Formula Collection miniatures for our subscribers. Besides that, everyone can watch the videos in Premiere, get priority responses during the live streams, and from the Paddock Pass plan and up, there are 4 different plans. You get access to the best among WhatsApp group on Brazilian motorsport on the internet. That's what they say. I can't really tell you myself because I'm only part of our own group. In there, it's me, Houston, and over 220 other crazy folks talking about Formula One, cars, movies, sharing laughs, and making emojis and stickers out of all the faces I make here. Anyway, 1,000 benefits. And of course, as I've been saying, we give back to you in other ways, like the chance to win prizes. Whenever we get something around here, we do a giveaway for you. And I've already mentioned, there's something new coming. It's on the way. I think next week I'll be able to talk about it. Oh, but you already said that last week. I know, it's just that it doesn't depend on me anyway. But as soon as I can, I'll announce it. All right then? Leave a like. It's free, doesn't cost anything, and it really helps the channel a lot. Do me this favor, do us this favor, and don't forget, to do your part, since I'm here straining my voice. Leave a like, hype it up, and drop a little comment. Any comment at all. Our engagement, is blowing up. The proof of our community's strength comes from 2 things. Our number of interactions, or likes, hype, and comments is higher than channels with 10 or 15 times our number of subscribers and views. Why is that? Because you guys are awesome. And here's another sign of the strength of our crew, of your strength. We made it into the iBest voting. We're nominated in the Automotive and Transportation Influencer category, 𝘾𝙤. That's where they put us. And you know how it is, right? We're in the competition. We're competing, as the popular saying or the poet would say. Isn't that right? That's right. As soon as I found out, I rallied our crew and said, guys, we're in the voting. Let's go. We started at 240 in the ranking. The next day, we jumped to 48 goal, then up to 29, 28, 12, 10, 9, 8. And today, Friday, we're in 6th place, the second most voted channel in the last 24 hours. Are we a force to be reckoned with or what? That's why the link to vote is right down here, just below the video title in the description. But you know, there's also the link to Insider, where you can update your wardrobe and get ready for the chilly autumn weather. It's cold here. To make sure you don't miss anything we do here, we have notification channels on Telegram, Instagram, and WhatsApp. You get an automatic message as soon as I publish any content, so you don't miss a thing. And you also won't miss anything by following us on our social media, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and TikTok, where there's content all the time. And hey, it's Friday, right? And you already know what Friday means? Thanks, big hug. It's Friday. Take care.